Hey everyone, I've got Chris here, Chris from CZ Recruit. It's been one of our clients for a while now. I'm not sure exactly how long it's been. I don't know if you know Chris exactly. Um,
I
a
think we're
fair
going
few
on
months.
6 months, maybe. Is it?
6 months.
I,
Yeah,
th- I
about
think it's been
about
about 6 months. Yeah.
about 6 months. So yeah, today we're really just going to talk about the experience, what you felt starting with us, how it's been, and where you're at now, and any potential wins we've had, and things like that. So before we get started into all of that, I want to take it sort of back to the beginning when we first got started. But I'm just curious, before you actually got started with us, if you had tried anything like lead gen type and lead gen related in the past, and what your experience was with anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, we tried a variety of strategies. You know, nothing like a third party service. So I was very skeptical of those types of services. Like, to be honest, like the type of service that you provide, there are so many people trying to copy this nowadays that it can be inundating how many people you get messages from, just because people know recruiting firms are struggling, and this is a really tough market for employment and recruiting in general, which is taking its toll for sure on us and everybody else. But to answer your question, I tried various like prospecting tools. I tried, like, I've used Zoom Info in the past. I've used Apollo. I've used Lucia. I've used all kinds of like database tools, but never actually an external service. So we were sort of just trying to bootstrap it ourselves in the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree. There's a lot of competition out there. There's a lot of people, saying they do exactly the same things on the market, and I think that usually, builds a lot of distrust. So this might be a difficult question, but what would you say, like your actual confidence was with us on a scale of 1 to 10 when you actually started? I imagine it would probably be pretty low for most people, but
Yeah.
what would you say your confidence actually was? Would you say
I
pretty
yeah, I
low?
was
Or?
I was definitely skeptical. I think what helped is you guys were, as you mentioned, a referral to us from, Dom, who I obviously, have a good relationship with and trusted him. But I could say if it weren't for Dom's referral, like I would have been very, very skeptical, like call it maybe a 2 out of 10, just because again,
Wow.
there's so many, like there's like dime a dozen in terms of like how many like lead gen or like booking services there are out there. So,
Mhm.
I'm usually like I'm the kind of person who errs on the side of caution with that. And it's like, if it's too good to, or if it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is, right? So,
Sure.
yeah, definitely skeptical about it.
Yeah, no, it's good perspective to hear for sure.
Yeah.
I suppose the question would be, how has everything been now, sort of 6 months in? Does that align with your
Yeah.
expectations? How do you view it now?
Yeah. It definitely aligns with my expectations, if not supersedes them. So or surpasses them rather. Nothing is overnight, right? So I think um I did not really realize how much of like a true partnership and growth experience this was going to be, rather than just like my expectations were like, hey, this is just going to be like a plug and play simple lead gen equation where we just pop ourselves in and we get boom business right off the bat. And that I can say is like, that's not the case. And if anybody's looking for like a silver bullet, like that doesn't really exist. You have to be willing to put the work in and the time. And I think that's what I've appreciated about our partnership, is that, you know, we have tried a lot of different strategies. Not to say your guys' approach is scattered in any way. Like, you guys do have a very definitive and well laid out, path of how you acquire leads. It is very systematic, and that's great. So you have confidence in like a tried and true approach, but you got to try different angles, right? Because that, everybody's trying to get that little bit of an edge. So I think it definitely surpasses my expectations in the fact that it has been a lot of really solid conversations and strategic back end work between our firm and yours. And it's, I
Hmm.
think that's been really positive.
Yeah, amazing. No, that's fantastic to hear. And then in terms of like some of the stuff you're working on now, I know that we've had a few contracts and a few projects that you're working on. What's sort of been the biggest win you think from the portal and from the campaigns we've been running?
Yeah, absolutely. I would call it I'll call it a pre-retained engagement, which if anybody in recruiting is listening, they know retainer is like, music to their ears. That's the golden ticket. We all want a retained relationship. But we've been engaged with one company who was really impressed with our message and our strategy. It was just you getting it out there to enough people. And I think we've sort of not to shift topic too much, but like we've sort of shifted our strategy and the types of roles we're going after because we have to kind of adapt or die, right? And that's what we've done. So we've taken an approach of working in an industry that we normally wouldn't. Yeah, because we wound up shifting to an industry that we would normally never have really looked at or explored, still within our capabilities, but like I was a little hesitant, and you guys kind of helped us run like a test scenario or a test market where we just did a little bit of a control, and we wound up seeing a really good response to things, and we wound up booking a deal that is sort of like I said before, a pre-retainer. So we're on a trial basis right now for a contingency placements, that where they gave us about 6 or 7 positions with the potential for that to blow up into probably about 25 to 30 positions as they grow over the next year. This is a firm that's got a lot of investment behind them, and they're buying up smaller brands and growing, quite aggressively. And I think we're honestly really impressing them right now in the beginning. So I'm very confident that this is going to turn into a very lucrative retained agreement, which is for this market really, really good.
Mm,
So
absolutely. Yeah, you've done a good job there. It just shows as well, like the lead gen can be good at starting the conversation, but of course it's like up to your company. It's the all the things you do, the nuances of your service and why you know how you're different, and all the things to do with your service that actually make that really happen and turn that into the big deal. And that's a testament to you guys and your hard work. It shouldn't be
thank you.
overlooked. And yeah, I think that's that really helps as well. Working with really really good clients, it helps you win bigger deals in the long run. Like us working with you, we know because your service is like exceptional. You guys really, really work hard at what you do, and you're exceptional at what you do. It makes it much easier to close the big deals as well. So that's super awesome to hear. But yeah, I thought it'd be good to just go over anything that particularly like stood out to you, or anything you weren't quite expecting from like the campaigns or systems we've been running. If there's anything in particular.
Well, I would say the thing I wasn't expecting was to learn as much as I am. There are new systems, um, there are new approaches, there's new databases, there's new software, like, and your team is very open about showing you that process because you kind of take the approach of wanting your client to understand like how this works and what you're doing, which I love because there's no smoke and mirrors, there's no shady back end. Like this is all legitimate, above board, like really solid lead gen strategies that, to be completely honest, my team could probably learn all of this and go off in the future and like duplicate some of these efforts, but I don't want to, right? Because that's like a huge time sink, and that's it's not like just a transaction where we're paying for leads. We're paying for like a strategic partnership and building that together. So like the advantages of keeping you guys on completely outweigh the like the cost savings of us trying to duplicate this. But again, I got to learn all of this and like how it's working, which is like that's relatively unheard of, right? Like a magician usually doesn't show how the tricks are done. So but I think it's really that has been the biggest surprise for me. You know, outside of the obvious of again shifting industries
Mm,
completely of where we would normally be.
mm.
But it keeps us on our toes. It keeps my team learning and growing and kind of just shifting the way that we're doing things, which is, as you know more than anybody, adapting in this economy is
Yep.
so crucial. You know,
Yeah, absolutely. I think that comes down to like the campaigns as well. Testing is so important because we'll find
yeah,
something that works really, really well. And it's up to obviously a great company like yours to be able to adapt, be flexible, and capitalize on the opportunity. So that obviously comes into it as well. Flexibility is a really big advantage, allows us to test more, allows you to test more angles.
yeah.
but yeah, it's good to hear that you've been known for. I know you've started using some tools like Clay and stuff. Like
Yeah,
your
yeah.
team's pretty good on that, so
Just
it's
to
really
poke
cool to see.
around and yeah, and just learn a little bit. My guys were eager to get in there and just say, hey, like this looks like a cool tool anyway. Like I just want to,
Yeah,
but it's cool because now we can kind of almost work in tandem with your team, which is fun. So
yeah.
what I guess I'll turn the question around. Like, what did you not expect or expect about it? Like, where were your expectations about working with a small? I mean, like when we first started, I was a single person company, so like
Hmm.
what that was probably a little overwhelming.
Yeah, to be honest, I think always, when we work with very like small or solo preneurs and solo recruiters, it's
Nice.
more. Um, I think for us is that's why like the testing is really really important as well, because I think sometimes with like really big companies they're very fixated and they're like they won't shift because effectively they can't. They've got all of that training, they've got the SOPs in place, they've got the way of doing things, but it allows us to be more flexible, and I think that's why something that was our mindset shift for us was we can be more flexible. Usually we feel like we're quite fixated on like this is our specific industry, this is our ICP, just go after them, go get them. But what was good for us was to be able to actually see based off the market and based off where we're seeing opportunities elsewhere, we can like reflect that for your campaigns as well and be more flexible with it and then start to grow in the places where there's the most opportunity. So I wasn't quite
Yeah.
expecting that, to start. I think I
Yeah.
thought it'd be quite like binary, black and white, focus on one thing, we just do the same for that. But the advantage of working with, um, smaller companies and solopreneurs and these sorts of things is you are more flexible and you're more agile to capitalize on new opportunities. So you play to the advantages. So I say that's one thing that we didn't quite expect that we enjoy. We like being able to test things. We like being able to try new things, try new strategies, try new approaches. And it's always
Yeah.
good when we see it starts going the right direction, and pay off. So
Yeah. Yeah. And to your guys' credit, like we are not the easiest clients when it comes to testing and adapting and like not saying we're not flexible, but like I am, I'm almost too stubborn in like my processes and like I'm very adherent to my values of like honesty and I try not to implore the strategies that a lot of like these larger firms you were talking about do. Like I'm not gonna NPC people who I've never spoken to and pretend like they're looking for a job just to try to get a foot in the door. And I'm not gonna, pretend I can staff in an industry that I have absolutely no experience in, and like I think that was a difficult hurdle for both of us because we're trying to figure out like, hey, so where are your niche, areas of expertise or like what strengths and things can we play off of? um and it while it was difficult, I think we finally like were able to fine tune that strategy, and I think it's been working really well.
yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. I think we're in a good spot now where we've got the industry that's working really well. We're scaling that up, and you're getting some opportunities there. So that's really awesome. What sort of advice would you have for someone maybe in the same position you were a few months ago or 6 months ago, where you're very skeptical about this? You're looking for someone that can actually be a trusted partner rather than just a plug and play. What advice would you give to someone who's looking for a service like this?
The first thing I would say is refine your own brand and message, because you need to have a definitive idea of where you want your brand to go and grow. If you don't have that, it's going to make the process difficult. So you need to do your own homework and really dig in first at how you want your image to be put out there. And then the second is just do it. Like just dive in. Like Harry, I know you stand behind your services and you really take a lot of pride in what you do. So it is a give and take. There is trust there, but um, it's to be able to speak directly with your team, have an interaction like this. It's not somebody just hiding behind a database in a computer, right? So my advice is just go for it. If you don't like it, it's all right. Hey, you tried it out, but I really you've got to commit. You've got to go full in and treat it like a partnership, but it absolutely is worth it in the end.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds fantastic. So appreciate your time with these questions,
Absolutely.
Chris. Thank you for being an amazing client of ours.
My pleasure. Well, I appreciate everything you guys have done for us. So let's keep going, man.